I dive into my lesson, I thought that I wanted to pause and acknowledge that there is a lot going on in our world right now. There's a lot going on. And things that are hard to see happening and things that challenge us to know what is ours to do, as we witness really hard stuff. And sometimes I wonder, like, is there a question like, how do I balance focusing on myself, on my own growth and development and healing and learning and all that, and respond to all this other stuff? Like, and here's what I have to offer. We are called to something more. We are called to our greatest strength, to find our own strength, our own best self, our own inner light, so that when we decide to take an action, when we decide to create a boundary, or when we decide to make a contribution to some bigger purpose, we're doing that from a place of inner centeredness. So it's kind of like both, right? All that out there is a distraction, kind of an excuse for not dealing with everything that needs our attention in here. And until we can deal with what we have going on in here, it's really hard for us to make a big impact on stuff going on out there. Are you following me? Don't you feel like this is like a timely reminder? Like, what are we doing? So today, our lesson, this is our first real lesson to set up the theme of 2026, claiming higher ground. And one of the things that I've learned about being in spirituality for nearly 25 years is that each and every one of us individually gets to make a choice about how purposeful and intentional we are going to do life. How intentional are we going to do it, right? And we each have to choose how much we are willing to grow and stretch, and if we're going to let our higher power in on the game that we are in. Can you see that, right? So my guess is that because you're sitting in here in a place where you come to learn about spirituality, either you've been dragged here by someone, a friend or a loved one, and you're like, what the heck am I doing here? Or you're here because you're interested in some level of seeing how living in a healthier and more empowered way might be impacted by spirituality. Hope it's the latter. But if you are just like, oh, what am I doing? Hopefully it's not too scary. But, maybe you've been on this path of like living intentionally for a long time, or maybe you're just starting to wake up to the possibility of your life improving in big and small ways. But either way, here you are today as we discuss what we're going to be doing around here in 2026. And what we're going to be doing around here in 2026 is living. Period. I know that's a big shocker, right? But it's just that simple. We're just going to be living. The thing is, though, is that we're going to be trying to live in a better way every day. And we're going to be using spiritual ideas and practices and information to help us. And this is where the science of mind comes in. But lots of other healing modalities can also play a part. So this philosophy that we teach is very, very helpful if you want to live a better life. It isn't a religion. It's not a religion. It's a way of looking at everyday things that you encounter as you're walking around, looking at them from an empowering perspective. And here's what I mean by that. So our founder, Ernest Holmes, was very clear about our role as co-creators of our experiences. He was crystal clear about that. And he had studied science and ancient philosophy and all the religions of the world, and he synthesized the information into a few key concepts that we're going to be keeping in mind as we live this year. And the first one is this idea: everything is spiritual, or God is all there is. Okay? Either way you want to language that, it's the same thing. Everything is spiritual, or God is all there is. And here's what that means. This big piece of awareness that's going to help us, it's going to help us all the time. Because if we can remember that one thing as we go, it can be very, very helpful. Let me explain. Let's just say you're facing an obstacle in your life. Whether it's like a work-related situation, or maybe there's a snag in a friendship, or a health challenge, or even something on the news that triggers this hurt inside of yourself. Whatever problem you have, this year we're going to try to always look at it as a spiritual Laine issue, right? Because everything is spiritual and God is all there is. So whatever it is, we can relax and remember that we have spiritual resources available to us all the time. And that we're in whatever this problem is because our spiritual self, our soul, has brought us to this place. That is a spiritual perspective. So in that situation, we always have a choice, right? There's always a conversation that has to be had. There's always a solution that must be decided upon. And since God is in all things, we can always ask ourselves, what is the most spirit-like or loving choice I can possibly make? And if we stop and pause and breathe and remember, we almost always know what the right choice is. And when we take a step towards the right and loving choice in faith, spiritual energy flows with us and empowers us. Do you see how that concept that everything is spiritual could possibly help you live more intentionally and lovingly as you go, right? It's a great thing to remember all the time. Everything is spiritual. The second principle that Ernest Holmes taught in The Science of Mind was that of oneness. Oneness. We're going to be trying to stay aware of oneness as we live this year too. And what that means is that in all those situations I just described, everyone is involved by divine appointment. Their soul also has them in that situation. Their soul agreed to show up for the situation. And we're going to stay on the spiritual path of remembering the golden rule. Our lives simply work better when we honor the human connections that we have, as well as the connection we have with all of creation. What I want for anyone else, I want for myself. And when we keep that truth at the forefront of our minds, we never wish ill or curse anyone else, not even those people. We refrain from judging others because we want only the best outcome for everyone. Yes, everyone. We honor our humanity and we have compassion for everyone else too. If I want success and happiness and peace and joy and love and all of those words over there, I want it for all people without exception. Do you see how that concept might help you make your life a little bit better this year? About living intentionally and with more love. And the third principle that Ernest Holmes taught in The Science of Mind is that we are powerfully creative beings. You are powerfully creative. And keeping that at the forefront of your life is important this year. The thing is, we're either sleepwalking through our lives, taking things as they come, getting by the best that we can, or we wake up and decide to create the kind of life that we desire and be the kind of person we know we are capable of being. Because even when we're sleepwalking, we are creating. Because we are just creating what everyone else has created as our own experience. We're just choosing to say, okay, I'm just going to go along with what the world creates. And we claim with our choices, and we keep those patterns in place. So my encouragement this year is to actively use the power of the universe, which is filling you with your every breath. And use that power to inform your choices. Can you see how this third concept might help you this year? So every year in January, CSL ministers around the world are trying to help their communities remember the concepts of the science of mind. So just did that, right? So in summary, everything is spiritual and happening by divine design. Everything we do impacts everyone else, and we have the power to create. Those are the three questions. So my question is, what kind of higher ground do you personally want to claim for yourself this year? I want to make this an active, personal lesson to give ourselves some areas of focus for the year ahead. So you have a colored piece of paper in your program. It looks like this. You can write on it now. You can take it home. This can be a journaling prompt, whatever you want to do. It's this peachy colored piece of paper. If you're watching online, just get any old piece of paper, because they're going to put in the moderator's going to put in there the concepts. So each of these categories of life may be where you want to set some intentions about improving the focus, spiritual practice, and engagement that we're going to be talking about all year. So if you're new to this kind of work, you may only want to choose like one part, right? One part of your life. Because guess what? These are the very things you're going to be complaining about this year. These are the things you're going to be talking about. Hopefully you're going to be praying about them. Hopefully you're going to be trying new things around these parts of your life, but you will encounter life in all these different areas. The question is, are you going to be circling around at the same level of functionality that you've been doing over and over? Or are you ready to take a step up? Are you ready to make things better? Will you climb a higher step on the spiral staircase of life in these areas, or will you remain the same? So let's review them. Maybe you want to capture your first thoughts. What we have the tendency to do is second guess our first ideas, because we question our willingness to take on whether or not we really have the power to create and change things. So go with first thoughts if you can. So the first area is personal relationships and social connection. So this is all about your connections with other people. How can you up-level your connections with the people who cross your path? Are there places in your life where you have withdrawn or given up or disempowered yourself? This is where you think about coworkers and friends and groups you belong to. Let's improve these this year. The second area is physical health. This is the category that encompasses how you treat your magic suit. This is your health care, your habits that support your vitality. Your body's a sacred gift given to you as kind of the vehicle for this life. How will you improve your connection with your body this year? The third is financial well-being. This category is about how abundant you feel, how your flow of resources into and out from yourself, and those choices around your beliefs of lack or belief of prosperity. Is there a fear you could overcome this year? Is there a new practice you could adopt? Is there something you could learn that would take you up into another level? The fourth area to think about is your home and your emotional satisfaction, okay? So this is the area of life where you look at your most intimate relationships and how they are supported within your personal environment and sanctuary. Maybe this is the year where you actually decide that your home is your sanctuary. Your primary relationship is your sanctuary, making whatever changes necessary so that your soul feels deeply at home. Fifth category is work or creative expression. So whether you're a working professional or retired or somewhere in between, this category is about how you flow your creative energy to support yourself, to support others, and to support the world around you. Is this an area you're stagnant in? Are you just kind of hody-doing through this part of your life? You know, when's the last growth spurt you had in this contribution that you make to the world? The sixth one is about growth. It's about expanding into something new. You know, we rise on the spiral staircase of life by acquiring new knowledge and new thoughts and new ways of looking at things, new expressions, new talents. How will you grow this year? with this spiritual power behind you. And the seventh one is healing. This category is about being committed to letting go of old wounds, old fears, regrets, worries, those kinds of things. Is there something you maybe have given up on that now is the year to pick it back up and do some more work on it? And then those are my 7 categories, but I guess what? I left another one. You may have something else that's really on your mind or your heart that you really want to address. There's no shortage of paper. Make a list as long as you like. But we all want to climb this staircase of life as we go. We don't want to remain at the same level, just stagnating or atrophying at that level. So how do we do that? It doesn't matter which category that you're going to be focused on. Moving up requires change. Moving up requires releasing fear and opening to greater love and connection. Moving up means letting go of ideas of separation or unworthiness or claiming or declining self-esteem. You know, last week, most of you received a white stone word, and I put them up here so we can look at them. You had a moment last week of highest connection, and you wrote a word on your stone and claimed it for yourself. Here is the poster that we made. Do you see yours up there? And if you weren't here last week, look at these words and see if one resonates with you, or choose your own word to guide you this year. But if you look back at this little list of categories, think about how you can bring your word into greater expression in every area of your life. You picked a God word, and those words are the kind of concepts that we wish to be expressed through your soul in all that you do. Aren't I right with that? So I always share my personal word, and I'm going to do that, but I also have permission to share Terry's, so that I can give you some kind of practical ways to keep kind of your word in your pocket as you climb the stairs of your life this year. And her word is so very powerful and impactful that I want to offer it to all of you. Remember how I said last week that our words belong to all of us? You know, just because it came through one person's brain doesn't mean it's not for all of us. So what we know for ourselves, we know for each other. And Terry's word is one we all need. I know I do, because Terry's word is persistence. Persistence. So I'm going to share some things to illustrate how we can all use her word, persistence. And I share her word because I think persistence is another spiritual concept that could really help all of us this year. See, she did some research, and she gave all the research to me so I could use it if I wanted to, and man, I loved it. So going into the white stone ceremony, she was torn between 3 words. She was torn between passion, comfort, and stamina. She's like, they didn't feel quite right. So she did some research, went digging to find a word that tied them together. And the word she uncovered was persistence. So I want to teach a little bit about persistence so we can all deepen our relationship with it as a spiritual concept. So persistence spiritually is about trust in our higher power. So aligning with that higher power in faith, not needing to rely always on our own stubborn effort to take the steps that we need to take. Let's break it down a little bit. First, when we persist spiritually, we trust that a greater process is happening, even if we don't see immediate results. Now, we can relate to that on a human level, right? It's hard to persist at something when we don't see the results right away, but we persist. We like immediate results, don't we? But growth and higher meaning unfold over time. Spiritual growth, higher meaning are revealed over time, so we can climb our staircase trusting in the process with persistence. Can't you relate to needing some spiritual persistence when trying to work on one of these areas of our lives? Change in these big things doesn't happen overnight. It just doesn't. We might want to work on up-leveling, let's say up-leveling our marriage, but that kind of improvement takes growth unfolding over time. It takes a while to see a higher meaning or a new truth revealing itself, so we just have to keep climbing the stairs one small choice at a time. Second, spiritual persistence keeps us committed to living in alignment with our higher values every day. We aren't chasing quick rewards here. We're committed to choosing integrity and the purpose of our lives day after day with discipline. If our white stone word is a stretch for us, it's going to take persistence to keep choosing it and expressing it in the face of challenges, realigning with it over and over. And third, spiritual persistence means remembering that our soul has the capacity to endure any challenge without losing hope, without losing compassion, without losing our awareness of our own resilience. When we remember that everything is spiritual and happening on purpose, our persistence reminds us that we have what it takes to remain poised no matter what. Our strength is guided by inner wisdom, not human ego force. Fourth, we spiritually persist when we surrender the outcome and release our need to control. Let me emphasize that. We don't control the when, and we don't control the how of any change that we desire. We keep moving forward in alignment with our commitment to grow and heal, knowing that things can't be forced. We can pray, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I know my white stone is my birthright. I release any attachment, known or unknown, to the apparent obstacles. They're just steps to take in my own development. Fifth, spiritual persistence means that we understand that transformation comes through challenges. Transformation comes through the challenges we face because hard things reveal important things to us. We can do hard things, can't we? Hard things have big rewards. And this piece of wisdom we learned in the gym, didn't we? How many of you go to the gym just every now and then? Just occasionally. We persist at exercise, even though it's hard, because we know that our muscles are transformed through challenge. It's the same thing with our personal selves, too. So we keep moving, patiently receiving the wisdom that's available. And finally, spiritual persistence turns our ordinary choices into sacred ones. And we remain devoted to the work that we are here to do this year. Can you hear that? Your ordinary, everyday, little tiny choices are sacred. Every time you tell the truth, every time you ask for help, every time you try something new, every time you pick one healthier option, those are sacred choices and devotion to your higher path. Here's what I know. I could take any one of your white stone words and make a lesson out of it, because we need every single word to make our climb to higher ground this year. My word is peace. I was sharing last week that in all the years of writing down white stone words, I've never written peace. It's such a big word. It's a huge word in spirituality, but not until this year have I received it as my focus for the year. And now I know I've got to choose peace and act in peace if I want this word to be my experience. And I know it will show up in every area of my life. But what is the opposite of peace? I see the opposite of peace as being conflict, fear, resistance, judgment. If I take those 4 words, conflict, fear, resistance, and judgment, isn't that the opposite of your word too? Whatever your word is? It's kind of the opposite of the things that we want. But if we persistently choose over and over, then we will have the God-given words that we have chosen. I promise to do a lesson on my own white stone word and many more lessons that kind of touch on all of these different areas of life where we're going to be focusing. But today, my invitation for you is to place your hand firmly on the handrail. Look at it as a spiritual, persistent practice to keep making tiny steps, just little bitty steps, into better and better choices. Up the stairwell, if you look up, There's more peace up there. There's more love up there. There's more joy up these stairs. What is up the stairs waiting for you to experience? Will you pray with me? Take a deep breath. What I know is that we are here together as a group, committed to climbing these stairs of life, these spiritual stairs that take us one step at a time to higher ground, to more love, to more joy, to more peace, to more of life, to more of everything that we desire, regardless of what area of life it may fall in. And Spirit meets us there. Spirit meets us in each and every step we take. And I am grateful for that. Thank you, God, for this community that grows together. It is such a blessing. And so it is.
And so it is.